All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the Public Works Committee meeting of November 25th, 2024 to order. Grimsby is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Haudenosaunee, the Haudenosaunee, and Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The regional municipality of Grimsby stands with all Indigenous peoples, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. As we begin, are there any disclosures of pecuniary or non-pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we can move on to our first agenda item, which is the approval of the agenda. Actually, before we do that, I want to welcome Noah. I think this is his first meeting with us, so he's over here beside me, our new committee coordinator. Welcome, Noah. Can I have a mover and seconder for the approval of the agenda? We got Member Murphy and Rady, you said, and seconded by Member Rady. Resolved that the agenda for November 25th, 2024, Public Works Committee meeting be approved. All in favor? That's carried. Next, we have receipt of previous minutes. Can I get a mover and seconder to receive the previous minutes? Councillor Kostanji, seconded by Member Smink. Resolved that the Public Works Committee minutes of September 24th, 2024 be received. Any questions or comments on those minutes? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. We have no delegations. Can I get a mover and a seconder for the consent reports? Member Rady, seconded by Councillor Kostanji. Resolved that the Public Works Committee hereby approves the following items and that the consent items be approved on the recommendations contained therein. DPW 2432, the report DPW 2432-2425 Salt Management Plan endorsement dated November 25th, 2024 be received, and that the current revision of the Salt Management Plan dated November 2023 be re-endorsed by Council, and that the updated version of the Salt Management Plan Activities Matrix dated November 2024 be endorsed by Council. All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Yeah. You have a question about that?
Chair Cook, no. Consent reports. Thought they had an asterisk on them.
They're in the agenda under consent report. It's a different
under
number,
the 7,
right?
but always thought they had an asterisk. That's why I kind of.
Yeah, no, I think maybe at council meetings, I don't know if, but yeah, I think that.
No, I left my notes at home.
Okay, so that was carried. No, that was on council meetings, when it's a committee of the whole, they used to put asterisks beside them, but they list them separately under consent and discussion report now, so.
Well, then we should change the preamble.
That's a good point. Yes, if you look at the agenda, I didn't know what you were getting at. You're right, though. That's 100% right. It does say that it's marked with an asterisk, so Noah, just make a note of that for next time. Thank you. It's probably an agenda template, Councillor Howe, and it just wasn't updated. Good point, though. All right, discussion reports. The first discussion report is an amendment to Bylaw 1682. Can I have a mover and seconder to get it on the floor for discussion? Member Murphy, seconded by Member Smink. Is there somebody speaking to that one? Brandon?
Sorry.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Just very high level, this is an update to our existing traffic bylaw. Number of housekeeping items, I would say. I won't go into any of them in too much detail, but if there's any questions, I'd be happy to speak to them, and Michael's here as well if I can't answer them.
I've got Member Smink and then Member Rady.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. This may be just my ignorance, because I just looked up the draft bylaw as the public would on the town site, and the version that is on that, I'm seeing some pretty significant changes, and I'm not sure if that, I was expecting a wording change, and I was seeing, significant changes, changes of times of days, changes in fines, changes, like there was a number of changes. So it may be just what's on the, when you go to the town website.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So are you thinking that the one that's currently posted may be outdated? Is that what I'm hearing?
If you're saying that most of this is sort of like a housekeeping and there's no substantive changes, then yes, the one online would be more outdated.
Did you arrive at it through a Google search? Sometimes there are older documents on the town website that were previously approved. So maybe if you provide a link to staff, they can make sure that it's an updated version that's on there for if you have that. Other questions, Member Smink? Did you have any? Okay. Member Rady?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I thought the park and municipal lands was 16 hours. Have we changed it to 24 hours? Like, because the signs say 16. Michael, yes.
Hi, sorry, through you, Mr. Chair. So the 16-hour bylaw is typically on roads. The wording in here is meant to speak to municipally owned land, so such as the peak, like the town, PKC, other assets that are owned by the town. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor Howe.
Through you, Mayor, just a couple of picky, just little notes. On page 2 of the 3, and it's got the listing of the violations and the fines. But number 24 says park in municipal lands, whereas the other ones say park on municipal lands. Which one would be correct? And I know that it's the same thing, but should it be just, want to see it? There, in, on. Okay.
I think unless I'm missing something, Michael, sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, unless I'm missing something, you probably could change the word of number 24 to on for consistency. Is that no? Okay.
Councillor Howe?
And to kind of continue on that vein, we haven't changed the fines. Set fine parking on municipal lands, $30. You can't park in Toronto for $30. And yet we're doing that. And I'm going to, let me just continue a little bit with this bylaw, and then we can get at it. But there's a section on the changes under purpose. Section 2, the very first one, says, with permission from the Director of Public Works. Number 2, with permission from the Director of Public Works. Why don't we have bylaw in handling that? I know for a fact that the Director of Public Works has a few more things to do than take a phone call on giving permission to park someplace.
Sure, through you, Mr. Chair. So I maybe just to clarify, that's speaking to who is delegated the authority to provide. I think in the case of number 2, there, it's speaking to exemptions for oversized loads. So this is talking to who within the town is able to kind of designate or have the authority over those regulations.
Yeah, so, and through you, Mr. Chair, just in function, that would be, I would delegate that to a member of my team that would put a piece of paper in front of me and I would sign off on it.
Oh. Wouldn't that just be, if it went right to bylaw, then it's going right to, is there a legal purpose to it?
So as the road authority is the town of Grimsby, we're the Public Works Department. Or the Director of Public Works is considered the person who has authority over the road. Bylaw can enforce certain aspects like parking and things like that, but in terms of the overall authority for the road, it'd be Director of Public Works is the, what do you call it, the person having that authority.
Any further questions? And Councillor Howard, I think you're drastically overestimating the amount of work that Mr. Wartman does. I'm just kidding, Brandon. I hope you know that. He knows I know how hard he works. Any other questions about that one? Seeing none. If you throw it up in the air like that, I got to knock it out of the park. I apologize. So resolve that the report DPW 2429 bylaw 1682 amendment, updated wording dated November 25th, 2024 be received, and that the Public Works Committee recommend council approve the proposed bylaw amendment provided herein. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Next report is the 2024 road QMS operational plan endorsement. Can I have a mover and seconder to get it on the floor for discussion? Councillor Kristanji, seconded by Councillor Howe. Go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, and through the chair, on the floor this evening is the Town of Grimsby's RQMS operational plan, which is being brought forward for committee's endorsement, subsequently council's endorsement. The operational plan was developed in alignment with the DWQMS system framework, including 21 elements. Its purpose is to provide a high-level overview of the systems, strategies, procedures, and policies that the town has implemented related to the roads and related infrastructure. During our annual exercise of updating the plan and associated documents, there was only minor changes that were found. These included a slight modernization of some language around some of the systems that we use, specifically our CMMS, which has replaced some legacy software such as Microsoft Tasks. On that note, staff are here to receive and answer any questions.
Any questions for staff on the, or for Ben on the QMS report? That was easy. Seeing none, resolve that DPW 2431, 2024 Road Quality Management System Operational Plan endorsement dated November 25th, 2024 be received as information. And that the Public Works Committee recommends council endorse the current revision of the roads QMS operational plan dated November 2024, and that the mayor be authorized to sign the current revisions of the roads QMS operational plan, and that council re-endorse the existing roads QMS policy statement. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Last discussion report is the 2024-25 winter control manual endorsement. Can I get a mover and seconder to get it on the floor, please? Councillor Kristanji, Member Rady. Moved by Councillor Kristanji and seconded by Member Rady. Who's doing that one? Oh, Ben, you again? All right.
Thank you through you, Chair. We'll see if we can keep the streak alive. So for discussion this evening, we have the winter control manual, again, being brought to committee and subsequently council for approval. The winter control manual is a collection of documents used by the Public Works Department during the winter months pertaining to the levels of service, maintenance of roadways, sidewalks, and associated infrastructure. During our annual exercise for reviewing and updating this document and associated documents, again, only minor updates were required. However, some ones to highlight were surrounding the updates to the inspection protocols and the inspection routes that staff use during winter months, during winter events, specifically looking at some of our higher sidewalk traffic areas, and as well as the Grimsby on the Lake area. We also updated some equipment lists, as well as some of our snow fence installation lists, both above and below the escarpment. We did identify some areas for improvement, which is moving away from some of our CAD-based mapping and utilizing some of our GIS tools, and also leveraging some of our existing vehicle software for winter response, including patrols, plow routes, et cetera. Happy to answer any questions or comments.
All right, Member Smink, you have a question for Mr. Marconato.
One question and one comment. On your winter roads map, I was glad to see the extension of Terrace and Riesling. That's like down the street from me, where I live in Grimsby. But I did see that the sidewalks weren't included in your sidewalk map, so you might want to just check that. I don't know that actually those roads have been assumed yet, but I'm under the suspicion probably that you're going to be clearing the sidewalks through there. So that was the first thing. The second was I wondered if you could just expand upon the use of the vehicle tracking software and the GIS. I think there's an awful lot that can be used in terms of optimizing routes and ensuring the right spacing and time of all the MMS requirements. If you could just expand a little bit on that and what that software looks like at the town, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure, through you, Chair. To answer the first question, we can certainly look at the updates to our sidewalk response maps. It is an exercise that our GIS team is going through. So we do have those updates in the works, so we can definitely take that away. To answer the second comment regarding the leveraging of the existing vehicle tracking software, there was recent discussions with the provider, specifically their engineering team, about some of those route optimizations and leveraging some of those Google-based mapping tools. So I can't really speak to necessarily what that might look like right now, but it is something that the team is reviewing as we move towards leveraging this software.
Yeah, through your chair. So as Ben just mentioned, so we do have several different softwares we're using right now. We're actually in the process of getting out of an older legacy product and moving into something newer. It's an existing software we're using. We're just looking at leveraging it a little bit differently, maybe using some of the technology that's there in a different way. So as far as optimizing routes, that's not really a practice we've used this software for to this point. Every year, myself or Ben and the team sit down and do kind of review our routes as we add new roads and sidewalks and things come in. We do that as a practice, and that's kind of done in conjunction with our drivers. I mean, they're the ones that are out there that know how long the routes are and what time takes. It's easy for us to draw lines on a map and think it all makes sense, but so we do that detailed work with the staff. As we do roll out this software, it is going to give us a lot more data to look at, and it's going to give us some more opportunities down the road. So we are hoping that we are going to be able to look into doing that. But we are kind of lucky here too in Grimsby that, we're kind of a smaller, condensed community. We don't have big areas where we're really trying to, I don't want to say worry about time, but most of our routes are pretty short. And when we do have, one route finishing, drivers are very quickly able to come and help out other areas as well. So we don't really work on sort of finishing one route, moving to the next. It's really a bigger picture where the whole community is actually kind of one big route. I don't know if that makes sense, but either way, we're going to be looking at what we can do with that software, but I'm not sure what that's going to look like. To Ben's point, down the road, we're going to have to take a look at that.
Thank you. Just one thing I wanted to add is maybe you can explain briefly, very briefly, how road class maps are used to prioritize snow removal, because some people are not aware of how those, how class 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I've shared in the past maps of regional roads versus town of Grimsby roads with people, because I get calls, why wasn't Main Street cleaned? And obviously you're explaining that it depends on where it is on the, in the timing of the cleaning, because, some people will say, well, why was Highway 8 and Stony Creek cleaned up to the border at 7:45, but Regional Road 81 wasn't cleaned until 10 a.m. And sometimes it's at the end of our route and at the beginning of other routes. So just quickly, and a lot faster than I just did it, explaining how those maps are used to prioritize the cleaning.
Through you, Chair, I think a roundabout way of answering the question in a short manner would be, sometimes I think you need to take things on an ad hoc basis and explain things to an individual, and when they do bring up those concerns, which I think the Public Works Department has done on an ongoing basis in a valuable effort. However, I do know that there are communications efforts that are ongoing about winter maintenance, so maybe there's an opportunity to add a communications piece to the public about the different ways in which roads are patrolled and plowed, and what some of the implementation strategies are for those priority routes.
Yeah, that's perfect. I'm hoping we don't get a lot of snowfall, but maybe in time for snowfall, we can get some of that out on social media and stuff just to remind people. At all, never mind February.
I'm going to be really quick, sorry, through you, Chair, just to answer that. So in Grimsby, we have two, what we would call priority routes, which are our high-speed roads. So those are basically the higher kilometer roads and our mountain accesses. So on a dispatching basis, if it's middle of the night and we're shorter on staff, or as a priority, we do dispatch those two routes. Again, those are generally what we call our class 3s, or they are majority of our class 3 roads. 4s and 5s are usually your interior in subdivisions and with houses and lots of things on it. So those would be our secondary routes that we would hit. So to your point, I guess we do dispatch earlier on our priority routes. Those are the main roads that would meet up with the regional roads and kind of the commuter roads to get people either into or out of Grimsby. And then the cleanup would happen with the rest of the routes after that.
Thank you. I knew the answer. I just wanted to make sure that everybody had a chance to understand that. Okay, no. Member Rady.
Man, that was a long question. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let's use social media. I mean, really, in effect, it's free, right? It's not like we have to take out ads in the papers or things like that. And learn from our mistakes with the Elm Street thing, where Main Street, and if we had just, if you're going east and you're going south, and you turn here and you're going to go west, and people's eyes just glaze over, right? Just put a picture with a map on it, and here's the green stuff, and it gets done first, and here's the yellow stuff, and it gets done second. It really could be that simple. And I know we've got someone new managing social media for us, and it's just a thought, guys, because we get a black eye, and personally, I think we do a pretty good job, all things considered, with snow. So just a thought, use the social media as much as we can. Instead of blah, blah, everybody hates us. Let's be proactive.
That's something.
Yeah, sorry, just quick through you, Mr. Chair. That's entirely what we're actually in the process of doing now. So we are lucky to have a communications strategy, or I can't remember what her position title is now, but looking into a lot of those things, and actually we're working with a lot of the other departments and with bylaw to kind of mimic some strategies for regular postings going out, how we want to plan those things, whether it's for the parking on the roads for snow clearing or what's happening. I don't know if we're going to get to a point where we're going to have the whole Find My Plow and where is all that stuff happening. But there's lots of opportunity for us to just get more information out there to the community, get more information out to council and everybody, just so that we are celebrating, how good we are here. I think we actually do a great job on snow removal and winter control here. So it should be something that we're all very proud of. So.
Agreed. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we have resolved that report TPW 2333-2024-25 Winter Control Manual endorsement dated November 25th, 2024 be received, and the Public Works Committee recommend council endorse the current revision of the plan dated November 2024. All in favor? It's carried. Correspondence, the Niagara Region provided a notice of submission of the terms of reference for the Niagara Escarpment Crossing Comprehensive Environmental Assessment. Can I get a mover and seconder to receive it? Councillor Howe, seconded by Councillor Kostanji. Resolved that the notice of submission of the terms of reference for the Niagara Escarpment Crossing Comprehensive Environmental Assessment be received. All in favor? That's carried. We also have a verbal update regarding QEW resurfacing. Is that Marvin?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Yeah, so just quickly, just wanted to share with the group, staff had a meeting with MTO about a week ago. They submitted their 60% design drawings, and we're looking for, I guess, just to share that information with us. So essentially, what it is the MTO is looking to resurface the QEW between Victoria and Casablanca in 2025. And then their plan for 2026 is to turn around and go back the other way towards Fort Erie. So what they shared with us is there would obviously be lane closures and traffic impacts. It would affect, obviously, us and Lincoln. They're planning to do most of the work as much as they can at night, so hopefully it'll be minimal impacts during the day. But they also are looking to resurface and do some line painting on all the intersections within that stretch. So for us, it would include Ontario, Maple, Christie. Christie being the region. So the region was also set in on the meeting, so they're looking at some cost-sharing conversations there on to extend their line painting. They need to actually go outside of their boundary into either regional or town limits. So they're looking at whether the town wishes to cost share and the region wishes to cost share. So we have staff looking at whether that makes sense right now, but I did want to share with the group what they're thinking. So yeah, just recap, resurfacing QW 2025, the intersections and the ramps possibly may bleed into 2026, and then turning around and coming back the other way in 2026.
Yeah, go ahead. Member Rady and then Member Spink.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Does this tie into our Casablanca work? I mean, it's the obvious question, right? Is this going to, what are they going to do? They're going to pave it and then dig it up, you know, all joking aside. Does this tie in with our plans for the North Service Road up to the rail?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, and I'm laughing because that was my very first thought too, is, but they're actually stopping short of Casablanca. So they won't actually be into the limits of the proposed Casablanca work. Yeah. Yeah, the Casablanca work will be completely separate from, the QW. Yeah.
Does that answer your question, Member Spink?
Through you, Mr. Chair. I just want to make sure that I understand the timing of this. Did you mean that the westbound lanes are going to be done in 2025 and the eastbound lanes are going to be done in 2026, like the same time that we're doing Main Street? And also, did you forget Bartlett? Because that's where I live. Thanks.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so that was the information we provided is, so heading westbound, so Toronto bound 2025, Fort Erie bound 2026. There was no conversation, about the intersection at Bartlett. So I can look into finding more information on that for you. And the fact that it ties in, to the proposed downtown works, that's a good point. It wasn't brought up, but it's a fair point to consider. Yeah, thank you.
I believe the region is also doing a section of Main Street through Grimsby on the same year.
So pump up the tires on your bike is what you're saying. So as far as the QEW resurfacing is concerned, at our previous meeting, Mayor Jordan mentioned, the need for an HOV lane or expansion of the QEW. Is there any talk of that? I know that there's very limited room as far as underpasses are concerned, or overpasses are concerned. Is there any talk of an HOV lane or an expansion in that repaving?
Yeah, through you, or to you, Mr. Chair. There was no conversation about any expansion, essentially a resurfacing, like essentially a mill and pave, a little bit more than that, like on the shouldering, but essentially a mill and pave of what's there right now.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, we don't need a mover or seconder. We have other business. Is there any other business pertaining to the committee? Member Smink?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just want to make sure that all members of the committee and any members of the public that are listening are aware of I think it's pretty imminent passing of Bill 212 from the province. I have a significant concern about one portion of it, which requires a municipality to have provincial approval for the installation of a bicycle lane on their municipal roads if a travel lane is removed as a result. I think that it's a significant overreach of the province, and that it shows that they don't have trust that our very competent staff and that our council can make decisions for our community based on our goals, our knowledge of the safety of our facilities, and how we would like to distribute our road and determine how much of it we want to use for active transportation and how much for cars.
Agree wholeheartedly, and there are the irony of Bill 212, or the contradiction, is that there are numerous provincial policies that speak to adding bike lanes and active transportation networks to avoid that, and lots of evidence that point towards them removing congestion if they are consistent and connected and all the things. So when they don't work, it's because they're not fully completed and they're not integrated properly. But if they're done well, they do work. I think that it's an overreach, and besides being an overreach, it's also aimed very specifically at one municipality that, you know, and I don't want to get into the politics of it, but it's a distraction. It's once again solving a problem that's not there. And I'd like to see some actual problem solving from the top down instead of, you know, just constantly bringing up issues that are not, from my perspective, and maybe I'm out of touch because I don't live in an urban center. Bike lanes are a non-issue. Adding bike lanes are supposed to help. And there's lots of evidence that where they're done properly, they do help. So I agree. I don't know if we as a committee or as a council want to send a letter talking about the town's role in local planning and local infrastructure, or if we just wanted to have this discussion because it's important to have that discussion. But I agree with what you have to say, and anybody else want to add anything to it? Seeing nobody, I did also want to mention, we had a meeting, at a previous meeting, we had a discussion about adding a right turn arrow at Elm and Main, heading north, right at the TD Bank. So when traffic is, because of the multi-directional traffic there, when traffic is free to go westbound towards Hamilton, a right turn arrow going towards, allowing people to turn right, even though it is technically just you have to come to a stop and make a turn, a right turn arrow would help the flow of traffic there. I don't know if there's been any progress in that, or if you had a chance to look into that with the region. Brandon, you got something you want? Michael, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, we've spoken to the region about it. At this time, we're kind of in the monitoring phase, but it is something that we are considering. It's just because of the timing, and in order to get the closure up and everything together, it wasn't something that was prioritized at the beginning due to trying to get everything out and set up so that way the closure could run. But we are working with them to keep an eye on that.
Sorry, just to add, Mr. Chair, so it would be an opportunity as we're doing the downtown project as well for us to look at some improvements there as well.
Okay, thank you. Any other new business, other business? Mr. Murphy?
Who pays for the damage to the vandalized speed camera out there? Every time I walk by it, it's been knocked over, it's been covered with paint, there's all sorts of stuff that's been happening there. So I'm just curious, is it the town of Grimsby's responsibility, or?
Well, the speed cameras are regional, but we pay for it as taxpayers. I mean, it's not, while I understand people's frustration about speed cameras, and, you know, I don't necessarily agree with them because they seem punitive instead of a way of traffic calming. When you damage a speed camera, it's like taxing yourself. Like we all as taxpayers end up paying for it. So as much as I dislike speed cameras, damaging public property is never the solution. You know, write a letter to your regional councillor, write a letter to the mayor, send me an email and I'll forward it on your behalf. But going out and spray painting these things and destroying things is ridiculous. And to answer your question, you pay for it and I pay for it and everybody in this room pays for it in our taxes. So any other questions or comments? Seeing none, the next meeting of Public Works is January 29th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. Good evening, everyone. The meeting's adjourned. Thank you.